Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. For today's video we are going through my everyday makeup drawer. I will go through the items that I've been using throughout the course of September and give you my thoughts on them, and then I will go through the new items that I've chosen for my October everyday makeup drawer. So let's get started. I will start with the primer spray I've been using, and this is the Wet n Wild Photo Focus Coconut 3-in-1 Primer Water. I've used this quite a few times over the course of the month as both primer and also a setting spray, and I do really like the scent of this. Yes, it is a little bit more summery smelling to me anyway, with it being coconut, so I was actually going to take it out at this point. I don't feel right spraying this in the sort of colder months, and I do have another setting spray to rely on, plus I have normal primers as well. So I think actually I'm going to take this one out for October, but I do really enjoy using it. I did purchase this one while I was either in the US or Canada, but I do believe this one is available here now, so it is one that I will definitely look to repurchase once it has run out. Then for foundation, I've been using this L'Oreal Infallible 24-Hour Fresh Wear. I have this in the shade 20, which is Ivory. It's a pretty good shade match for me. I do find that it does oxidise slightly, but not too much in that it looks too dark. It is, say, a pretty good shade match. I'm just not 100% sold on the formula. It does tend to go a bit patchy and break up around my nose area, and also not look the best around my kind of hairline area. But it feels quite nice, it does feel quite natural, it is a nice amount of coverage, it's just not completely perfect. So it's definitely not one of my favourite foundations, but it's by far definitely not one of the worst that I've tried. I am going to take this one out for next month though, because I do have a new one to try. Then for concealer, I've been using the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Define. I am in the shade C4. I've been really enjoying reaching for this concealer. Such a good shade match for me, and it is really good at covering my blemishes, and in a pinch it's also pretty good for covering under my eyes as well should I need it. So I am actually going to take this one forward because I've been enjoying using it that much. Then for the face primer I've been using, and this is the Cover FX Blurring Primer. This was, I think, a sample that I got from Feel Unique, and it is, as you can see, a pretty good size. I don't need an awful lot of this to cover my whole face, so it is great, and a little does go a long way. I don't actually usually apply this to my whole face, I do just kind of apply it to target areas, and I find it does a good job, and it is plenty enough primer for the foundations that I've been using. I have obviously been using it with that L'Oreal one. I've tried having this on my nose and not on my nose, and not much has made a difference with that foundation, to be honest, but I do really enjoy using this. I would say it is on par with the Smashbox one that I use, but this is more expensive, so I would in that respect prefer the Smashbox one because there's not much in it. I was going to switch back to the Smashbox one, but I've actually forgot to pull it out, so for pure laziness reasons I'm just going to carry this one forward to next month because I do really enjoy it. Then let's work our way through these powders. First one is the Balm Mary Luminizer highlighter, and this is definitely my favourite everyday highlighter. It's just the right amount of sheen that I like. I don't like too blinding with a highlight, especially in my day-to-day life, and I did have this out I think for a couple of months, so I'm going to keep this one in for next month as well. When I want a more blinding highlight, I use the Wet n Wild Mega Glow, and this is the shade Precious Petals. I do switch between this one and the other one I have, which I think is Blossom something or other, but I think I'm just going to keep this one in for the next month because it is such a nice shade. I've been really enjoying using this shade, so I'm going to carry this one forward. For blush, the first one I have is this e.l.f. Primer Infused Blush, and this one is in the shade Always Cheeky. This is a really pretty peach shade. I did have issues with the size of the pan in that I was applying it a bit too much over my cheeks, but that was just user error rather than the actual blush itself. But it's a really nice formula. I'd say it is as good as some of the high-end ones I have, and this is obviously a drugstore price. I think I am actually going to take this one out for next month. Then we have the Tarte one I've been using. This is in the shade Harmony, and this is one of their Amazonian clay blushes. As you can see, I am so nearly there with finishing this product. I have actually been reaching for the e.l.f. one an awful lot this month and haven't reached for this too much, but I am still making good dent in it. So that's another reason why I'm taking the e.l.f. one out, because I do want to give this one some more love and just hopefully get it finished. So this one is obviously staying forward to next month. Then we have another one from Tarte, and this is in the shade Ornate. I completely forgot I'd put this in here. This is obviously a brighter pink shade, but I was just flitting between the Tarte and the e.l.f. one, to be honest. I just completely forgot I'd thrown this in here. It did end up getting buried, so I might have reached for this once twice maximum. But I do have a brighter blush that I want to put back in for next month, so I'm going to take this one out. Next for bronzer, we have the Tarte Park Avenue Princess bronzer. This is a really nice shade. It does have a little bit of a shimmer to it, but not much. It's just not completely matte. I've actually reached for this quite a few times, which by my standards is really good, because bronzer is the one step I always forget. I'm actually going to carry this one forward to next month, because I don't know if it's because of the size of it that I have reached for it more than when I was using the little mini Hoola bronzer. But yeah, really enjoying using this one. For setting powder, we have this L'Oreal True Match. This was one I was kind of on the fence about, but I feel like I've now found the perfect brush to use it with, and I've actually been quite enjoying using it. I don't think it will show on camera, but this also does have a slight kind of sheen to it. It's not completely matte, but I don't mind it because it kind of makes my skin not look too flat when I apply it. I've tried setting powders in the past and they can make my skin look a bit too matte and a bit too flat. So this does give me just a little bit more life in my skin. And to be honest, I think I'm going to carry this one over to next month because I have been enjoying using it. For my under eye setting powder, we have the e.l.f. Under Eye HD setting powder. This has been here probably since the day dot, and we are now finally on the last few dregs. I say every single month that I think this is going to be the last month that it's in here for, and it just does not seem to run out, so I'm obviously going to keep this one forward. This one is also in my project pan, so I am determined to finish it at this point, but it is a really good setting powder and so affordable. On to my brow products, and the first one is the Benefit Goof Proof Brow Pencil. I am in the shade 3, and this is my kind of perfect brow pencil in that I can do my brows in about 2 seconds flat. So I'm obviously going to be carrying this one forward because it's been in here again since the very beginning, and it's such a great product. The other one I had in here this month is the one from e.l.f. and this is a slightly finer tipped one, but it is better than I remember it being. I was a bit unsure about this one at the beginning. I have actually been enjoying using this quite a bit. It's not the best when I'm in a bit of a hurry, but if I do have a bit of extra time, it is great, and it is quite a nice shade match. This is in the shade Taupe, so I was going to take it out, but I think I'm actually going to carry this one over to next month as well. I have the eye primer I've been using, and this is the Balm Priming Is Everything. This is what I received in a recent Tribe beauty box. It does have quite a nice consistency to it and applies on the lid pretty smoothly. You hardly need to press your finger into the pan hard at all to get enough product to cover both your lids. So it is definitely one that is going to last a long time, but would recommend this, and I think again I'm going to carry this one over to next month as well. There's been quite a few things that this month that I have enjoyed using that I do think I'll miss if I don't carry them forward, so that's why I've been doing that. Then for my under eye concealer, I use the YSL Touche Clair concealer. Excuse the remnants of other concealer on here. Actually, one of my other concealers spilled onto it and I can't get it off. It is very bougie packaging. It's not the best packaging. It's a bit uncomfortable to hold because it's quite scratchy, but the product inside is as good as a normal bottled one, so I don't mind too much, and I did get it for a little bit cheaper. But when this runs out, I'm going to try and just pick up a plain one again. I do highly recommend this concealer for under eyes. For me personally, it's a perfect match. It is in the shade 1, which is the peachy shade, but yeah, really enjoy using this, so obviously going to carry this one over too. Remember this down the bottom there. This is the First Aid Beauty Ultra Repair Tint Cream. It was a sample that I got and feel unique, so I just kind of threw it in there with the intention of finishing it off. I still do think I have a good few uses left in this, but I have reached for it a few times, and it is a really nice kind of BB cream, or tint cream as it says. It's not an awful lot of coverage, but it covers what I need it to cover, so this mixed with just a bit of concealer is sometimes fine just for an everyday basis, so I do really recommend it. But I think I'm going to take this one out for next month because it's more in the summer that I do want lighter coverage. Then I'll just run through these. So first we have the Morphe Continuous Setting Mist. I haven't reached for this the past month as much as I have been. I don't know for any particular reason, I've just found myself using the Wet n Wild one a few times and just generally forgetting to use this, but it's a really good setting spray. It's got a nice mist on. I just think the pump on mine is a little broken because it's not as smooth as it should be and as the one I tried in the shop, but for its effects I do think it really locks your makeup in place, and this one's going to get carried forward too. Then for eyeshadow palettes, the first one we have is the Anastasia Beverly Hills Norvina palette. I love the look of these palettes, but they are just so hard to keep clean. I don't even know how that's got on there, but this is a really gorgeous palette with a nice array of shades. I haven't reached for this as much as I'd hoped I would, because to me it's not a kind of everyday palette. My general go-to look is a kind of medium toned crease shade, a dark outer corner shade, and then a shimmer all over the lid. These shimmers or metallics or whatever they are absolutely gorgeous, but they're a bit too much for kind of everyday use. Plus they do have quite a bit of fallout. So this is a palette that I can only really use when I have the time to play around with it and I do want a bolder look. So that isn't a kind of everyday occurrence, because of a morning I do need to be able to kind of just throw my eyeshadow on my lids and go out the door. So I do really love this palette. I don't regret purchasing it because it is really nice and the shades are gorgeous. But just for an everyday palette, it's not the best, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I do have plenty of other palettes that kind of fit the bill for that. I did actually find myself doing a couple of kind of matte looks with this, and as I say, I use shimmer pretty much every single day. I don't tend to go for matte looks, but I found kind of pairing incense and volatile and then base just all over the lid, just a really nice soft looking matte look. These mattes are really pigmented, but they do blend out lovely. I say the shimmers are high impact kinds of metallic-y shades. There is just a bit of fallout, but nothing that can't be wiped away at the end of the day. So I do really rate this palette. It's just not the best for every day. Then we have the Wet n Wild Comfort Zone palette. This is one that was on my chopping block, which I am due to do an update on shortly, so I'm not going to go into too much detail, but it is a really nice palette. I do enjoy using it, and it is one that I can reach for on an everyday basis, predominantly for kind of this trio right here. It's just this green shade here that's quite unique. So I am really enjoying using it, and the formula of these is great. Final eyeshadow palette is the Morphe Jaclyn Hill palette. If you've been subscribed to my channel for a while, you'll know when I first purchased this palette, I wasn't a huge fan. Now I would be really upset if I ever lost this palette. It kind of does everything, and I think if I didn't have any other eyeshadow palettes in my collection, I would be fine just relying on this. It's got my everyday looks in, it's got the pops of colour, I can do darker smoky looks, it kind of ticks all the boxes. Formula wise it's pretty good as well. Yes, they aren't the longest lasting eyeshadows I've ever tried, but they do last a fair amount of time. The pigment level on them is really nice, and they do blend really nicely as well. So I do highly recommend this palette and think it's the perfect sort of all-in palette for a beginner. And I am taking it out for next month, but I think I am going to miss using it. I think the reason why I was so intimidated by it at the beginning was because of the amount of shades in it, but now I know what my favourite shades are and what to reach for, then I don't find it too bad. And staying with the eye products, I'll go through mascaras and things. First mascara is the Flower Beauty Lash Warrior mascara. This isn't the best mascara I've ever tried, but it's by any means not the worst. It does give me a decent amount of length, but it can be a little bit clumpy, and I'm not a big fan of clumpy mascara. I do find like I have to kind of wipe off the one before I use it, otherwise it will go clumpy, and it doesn't give me volume in a nice way. But I'm glad to have tried it. I would be keen to try the other Lash Warrior, is it Warrior Princess one that they've got, but we don't have much of a range of Flower Beauty available here. I did actually get this when I was in the States. If you want to use it up, I'm just going to take it out for next month, but I still do think I've got another month or so's use out of it before it goes bad or runs out. Then we have the L'Oreal Lash Paradise, and again this is another one that I got in the States. We do have the Lash Paradise here, but it is definitely not the same formula. Ours is called Lash Paradise Ecstatic, I think it is, and I did not rate that at all, but so many people rave about this one, I had to try it, and I do really like it. It's such a nice mascara that kind of ticks all the boxes. It gives me volume, it gives me length, and it also gives my lashes a bit of a lift, which it does retain for quite a while. My friends just actually took a trip to the US. This is the one thing that I did ask her to bring me back for me, because once this does run out, I would have been sad to not have another one to reach for. I still do think this has got a little bit of life left in it, as with the Flower Beauty one, but I do recommend it if you can get hold of it. And we have the Clinique Lash Power Mascara. This used to be my everyday mascara, on the first high-end mascara I think I ever tried, and I still do really rate this, but I do prefer a lot of drugstore everyday mascaras that I've tried since. It does have a really nice smaller one to it, so it is good to get into all the lashes. but this one actually ran out about halfway through the month. I thought it was a relatively new one, but obviously not. I'd obviously used it before, but throughout the course of the month I was finding that I had to dip back in the tube quite a few times to get enough product, so this one needs to be decluttered because it's empty basically. And the final one we have is this Essence Lashes of the Day mascara. I actually don't think I reached for this once. I don't think I've even opened this one, and because I was enjoying going between the kinds of Clinique at the beginning of the month, the Flower Beauty and then the Lash Paradise one, I just don't think I ended up reaching for this one, and then kind of got into the mindset of, well, if I don't open it I'll get longer out of it, so that's why I haven't opened this one for some. I'm not going to carry it forward to next month, but it is a really good mascara because I have gone through at least a tube or two of this already. It is a nice lash of the day. It does give volume, length and a curl as well, and Essence mascaras are usually under £5, if not sometimes under £3 or £4. Really recommend it. I've just not actually used this one this month. Eyeliner, we have the Colourpop liquid liner, and this one is in the shade Numero Uno, which is just the black one. Been kind of falling out of love with using eyeliner in the past few months, so I've only reached for this a couple of times. I do really like the formula. It is a slightly drier formula, but I find that it is easy to control. I think it's a felt liner. I always get mixed up between felt and brush tip. They're probably completely different and very easy to tell apart, but for some reason I get mixed up. I do think this one is a felt liner, but I do quite like the formula of this, and I would actually potentially purchase other ones because they do have quite an array of shades in these. I do like the look of the navy blue one and the dark green one, but for me to make an order for them I would need to properly fall back in love with liquid liner again. I'm going to carry this one forward as well. A couple more miscellaneous products and then on to lip products. First we have this Smashbox Photo Finish primer, which I completely forgotten about because it was buried at the bottom. I think I've got about one use left in there, and it's been open for quite a while now, so I think I'm just actually going to bin this one. This, I would say, is definitely one of my favourite primers. I do think it is as good as the Cover FX one, but this one's slightly cheaper. And then we have this Essence liquid eyeshadow. It is a Metal Shock eyeshadow, and this is in the shade there, ADHB, maybe? I'm not actually sure, but it's a really pretty gold shade anyway. I do really like these. This is one I picked up on a whim when I was in Canada, I think it was, and they are only a few pounds and they give a really nice effect. They don't take too long to dry. I didn't notice any creasing, and it did last a decent amount of time as well, so would recommend these. I'm going to take this one out for next month. And on to lip products. I did have quite a few in here this month, but quite a few of them actually ran out before the month ended, and then I found myself in a situation where I was only left with predominantly dark lips. So I'll run through the ones that ran out first. This is a Dose of Colours liquid lip, and this is in the shade Truffle. One is now pretty much dried up. I do find that these mini liquid lipsticks don't last the longest amount of time before they dry up. I've had it with both these Dose of Colour ones and also these Jeffree Star ones as well, so it does kind of put me off buying minis in the future. I do like them to be able to try which shades I like, because out of this set I've realised that I like both the shade Truffle and Stone. They are definitely my favourites, and they are ones I would potentially repurchase the full size of in the future, but I probably could have just took a stab that I'd like one of those shades and purchased the full size, which I kind of wish I've done now, but I'm glad I've learned a lesson from this kind of thing. But really nice formula, really comfortable, decently long lasting, and this one is such a pretty shade, but obviously this one is now empty. We have the two Jeffree Star ones. We have the shade Mannequin and the shade Leo. Same situation with these. They both dried out pretty much very close to the beginning of the month, so I haven't had these ones in use for a while now. I do really rate this formula. It is really long lasting and really comfortable as well. In comparison to the Dose of Colours one, I think I prefer the Dose of Colours one, but only ever so slightly, just with regards to comfort levels. They are both still really good, but say Dose of Colours probably nicks it just that little bit more comfortable, but would recommend these, and these are two both really pretty shades. I think I prefer Leo to Mannequin because this one is quite light, but again, both really nice shades. Then we have this Colourpop Lippy Stick, and this is in the shade Can't Wait, and this is in the Matte X formula. I'd kind of buried the couple of these that I have and hadn't reached for them in a while because I'd convinced myself that I didn't like the formula, but having tried it again this month, I do really like this formula. It goes on really comfortably and then it does dry down, and once it's fully dried down, it's not as comfortable as when you first apply it. So I would be tempted in the future to possibly try one of their cream formula lippy sticks, because I'm guessing that might be as comfortable as like when you first apply this, because they are super lightweight. And even though once it's dried down you can feel it, it's still lightweight and that kind of pillowy feeling. It's just dry. That was the worst description ever. But I do really like these lippy sticks, and I say this in the shade Can't Wait, and I do have one in the shade Daydream, I think it is. Then we have this LA Girl matte lipstick, and this is a flat velvet lipstick. This is in the shade Snuggle, I think it is. I have an issue with this packaging in that I always open the wrong end. This is actually the lid, and I always think that that's the bottom, so I always end up getting confused when I open it. But this is a really nice shade. It's not the most comfortable lipstick ever. Obviously it is a matte formula, it does dry down, and I feel like I have to kind of lick my lips quite a few times throughout the course of the day when using this. It also doesn't last the longest amount of times. I do find after a kind of drink or two it has pretty much faded, but because of the shade it does fade gracefully, so it's not the end of the world to have to reapply it. I just don't know whether I necessarily need it in my collection, so I am a bit on the fence about whether to declutter this one or not. It may be one to throw in when I next do a chopping block video, because I say it is really nice and it would be a shame to get rid of it, but I do have to kind of force myself to use it, which is a sign that I maybe should be thinking about decluttering it. Then we have this Tarte lipstick. This is in the shade Surf's Up. This has been in here for a while now, and we don't have an awful lot left. I'm getting to the point now when I'm applying it that I am actually hitting this bit of the tube, which isn't the best, and I do end up rubbing some of it off on the metal. But once it gets to the point where I can't use anymore, I will stop. I just want to get to that point, and I'm hoping I can do it next month. Plus it is a very autumny shade, so I'm definitely taking this one forward to October. Then finally we have what I've kind of made a combo. This is a Huda Beauty lip strobe, and this is in the shade Angelic. And then we have a Anastasia Beverly Hills matte lipstick, and this is in the shade Rosewood. This on its own is quite a dark shade, kind of too dark for me on a daily basis. And also I'm not a huge fan of the formula of these at all. They are so drying. Because it is a high-end lipstick, I just don't feel like I can declutter it. I didn't pay full price because I did get it in TK Maxx, and I think I paid £10 instead of £20, but that's not the point. I just struggle to part with things that are high end. And I say it is quite a nice shade, it's just a shame about the formula. On a couple of occasions I paired it with this lip strobe, and I've got to say I did like that a hell of a lot more. I wouldn't wear this lip strobe on its own because it is a bit too metallic looking, but this kind of toned it down a little bit. So this is quite a nice pairing. I do think that these are now gonna kind of come together hand in hand exclusively. I don't think I will wear one without the other. I have tried this on top of a few other lipsticks and it does look pretty nice, but I definitely prefer it on top of this one. So I am taking these out for next month, but these might make another appearance possibly in December, because it was a kind of festive looking lip with the sort of reddish shade and then the shimmer on top. But it's one way to make me use the two of these lip products anyway, because I wouldn't use them on their own. So that is it, the pot is empty, so I'm going to put back in things that I'm taking forward from September to October, and then I'll go through the new items that I'm bringing in for October. The first foundation I'm putting in is the Flower Beauty Light Illusion. This one is in the shade Ivory. I can't remember where I stand with this foundation, which is why I'm bringing it back in. I did originally have this in the shade L1, which was not the best shade match for me. It was a little bit too light. So this one I actually purchased when I was in Canada, because we don't have this shade here. We only have the every other shade. And I think I like it, but I just can't remember because it's been that long since I've reached for it. So wanted to give this one another go. And then I do have a new foundation to try, the Makeup Revolution Conceal and Hydrate, and I am in the shade F4. If you've seen past videos, you know that I've tried the Conceal and Define foundation, and I've not been its biggest fan. It is really nice on kind of the bottom half of my face, but on my forehead it does sink into the fine lines really bad, and so I do get a bit self-conscious about them when wearing it. I'm hoping because this is hydrating it won't do that, and it's the same F4 shade. I'm hoping this is what I kind of need for it to look good all over my face and not just on the lower half. So really excited to try this, and it's kind of the reason why I've kept the concealer in as well, because I presume they're going to make a good pairing even though that is from the Conceal and Define range. Then for the rest of the complexion products, as you can see, pretty much everything else is going to be the same. The only thing I'm bringing in is the Balm Frat Boy blush. This is, I would say, definitely my favourite kind of brighter pink blush that I own. I do like the brighter one that I had in last month. I just didn't reach for it, but I think I'll put this in. I will reach for it a bit more. Plus, I've only got this one blush in here, so I do like to have at least two. That one I'll use on an everyday basis. This one I'll use for when I want a bit of a brighter blush, but really love the formula of this, really long lasting and such a nice shade. Then I'll go through eyeshadows. The first one I want to pull in is actually another liquid eyeshadow, and this is from BH Cosmetics, and this is one of their highlights. This is in the shade BFF, which won't focus, but it's a really nice bright silver shade. I did actually make a recent purchase from BH Cosmetics and picked up a few brushes from them, and they had this crazy deal where if you spent over £15 you got a free eyeshadow palette, and it was the collaboration with, is it Sylvie Garni, which is a palette that I've had my eye on in the past and said if it went on sale I was going to purchase it. To get it when I've spent £15 on other things was great, so that is one that will probably be featured in a future everyday makeup drawer, but I did have other palettes that I needed to try before that. But really excited to see what this one's like, especially in comparison to the Essence one. It's a little bit more expensive. I think the Essence one is about £4 or £5, whereas this one was £7, so not much price difference, but I just want to compare the formulas. And then for eyeshadow palettes, I want to stick in the Too Faced Chocolate Bar. I don't know why I haven't put this one in here before, because to me, the main reason I use this everyday makeup drawer is to circulate my makeup and make sure things don't get forgotten. And this is definitely a forgotten eyeshadow palette in my collection. This is one that I pretty much solely use when I go on holiday because of the packaging. I feel like it's not going to break. Plus, I'm not the biggest fan of it, so if it did break, I wouldn't be completely heartbroken. But it is, on the face of it, a really nice everyday eyeshadow palette. So I think I just need to give it some more love. I don't know what my problem is with it. I just can't seem to get it to work for me. I feel like I had that same problem with the Jaclyn Hill palette, and now I love that palette. So maybe this one just needs its kind of time to shine, and hopefully it will. But we'll see how I get on. Then I have a couple of new eyeshadow palettes to try, both of which I received in recent Tribe beauty boxes. The first one is this IBY City Limits palette. The packaging is really cool looking, and it is a kind of warmer tone palette with a couple of pops of different colours in. Really pretty, and one I think I could use on an everyday basis, but with the darker shades it could also be used as a nighttime as well. So I'm really excited to break into this one. I've never tried anything from the brand IBY. I don't think I'd even heard of them before either, so I'm keen to see what this one has to offer. Then we have the palette that I received in my last Tribe beauty box, and this is the Vibes palette by Ruby May. And this is the one where we got to choose from 3 different palettes. I struggled to choose between 2 because they were all quite bright, and as you can see this one is very bright too. But there were a couple of shades in this I was drawn to, predominantly this Gold Here and this shade Glow, and also this shade Babe. They're the kind of 3 that sold this palette for me, because the other one I was torn between, there was only 2 shades in there that I wanted. I don't know how much use I'm going to get out of Flirt and Tea, and probably Rose and Mermaid because they're all pretty bright, but I might try and incorporate them somewhere because they do look really pretty, and I think this is the kind of palette that will push me out my comfort zone slightly. So because these are both kind of dark and neutral palettes, that's why I thought I'd bring this one in this month, just to give that pop of colour for when I'm feeling brave. Then for mascaras, the next one I'm going to bring in is the Colourpop BFF Volumizing Mascara. I think this is the second one of these that I've had now, because I do quite like them, and it's the kind of thing that if I do need to spend so much to get free delivery, I'll just kind of throw one of these in, because I think they're about £8. But it is a pretty good mascara. It's one that's definitely grown on me because I was too keen on it in the beginning, but it is one that is a nice everyday mascara and it doesn't break the bank. Then we have this mini Benefit Bad Gal Bang. This one I'm just trying to use up because I think I've had it for a little while now, and because it is a mini I don't think it has too much left in it, but this is probably one of my favourite high-end mascaras. Then we have the CoverGirl Exhibitionist Mascara. This is one that I picked up when I was in Canada. I unfortunately picked up the black brown shade, so that kind of puts me off this. I do really like the formula, it's just not dark enough for me, so it is a shame that I didn't pick up a black one, which was my fault. But I do really like the formula. It makes your lashes look like nice and natural and fluffy. But I'm keen to give this one another go, but I do wish it was black. Then we have probably one of my favourite all-time mascaras, and this is the Essence Lash Princess. Such an affordable mascara, definitely outdoes a lot of the high-end ones, and it's just a really great, can be every day, can be a kind of going out mascara as well. Finally, we have the Marc Jacobs Velvet Noir mascara. This is another one I think I've had open a bit too long now, so just want to finish up. Then on to lip products. I'm kind of going with the same thing I did last month in that I do have some I want to finish up. So with that in mind, I'm sticking in the, I think, final two of the Dose of Colours ones that I have. We have the shade Heartbreaker and the shade Catching Feelings. These are the two that the shades were nice, but I didn't like them as much as Truffle and Stone. I don't think these will have an awful lot of use left in them, so I'm hoping I can get these finished up this month. But I do really rate the formula. These just weren't my favourite shades. Then we have a mini Makeup Forever bullet lipstick, and this is in the shade Artist, and it's a rouge cream, but it's a really nice pink shade and will be a nice everyday one, because that's what I could kind of become unstuck with last month, and that I used up all my everyday shades and then was left with predominantly dark ones. So hopefully that should last the month. This little new one to try, and it's from the Tarte Sugar Rush range, and this is one of their sugar coat lips. This is in the shade Cake Pop, and this was just kind of a point perk when purchased from the website. I think this was only about 100 points or something like that, but I wanted to try this formula, even though I know the Sugar Rush range is probably more targeted at teens. They do have a few cute things in there, and I was just intrigued by this formula, so I'm guessing by the sheer tininess of this, it's not going to have an awful lot of uses in. So if I do go through this in the course of this month, I won't be surprised in the slightest. Then we have the Wet n Wild Liquid Catsuit, and this is in the shade Rebel Rose. Really love this formula, another affordable lipstick range, and really long lasting and really comfortable. I'm excited to be able to use this one again. And then finally we have a Miracle Matte Lip from Flower Beauty, and this is in the shade Rosewood, which is the same shade as the Anastasia Beverly Hills one was. To be honest, it does look quite similar. I think this might be ever so slightly lighter, but it's a really nice shade, and it does kind of give me autumn vibes, so that's why I thought I'd break into this one for October. So that's it for all the items that I'm going to be using throughout the course of October. Don't forget that I do have a giveaway ongoing on my channel. The link to that video will be in the description box below. But be sure to give this video a thumbs up if you did enjoy it, and subscribe if you're not already. Thanks!